a return to Mu. Returning, always beginning. Mu 101. As Henry spoke to us yesterday about the history of brutality in this country, about slavery and the undoing of humanity, about the scale of trauma and the systems that perpetuate it, systems we agree to, and about the election, I was brought back to the root of original love. The brokenheartedness that plunges us into this world, that allows us to taste this boundless love and live it. The heart of the matter, the reality of who you truly are. Hearts broken all the way open. There's a Soto Zen master who taught for a long time in the United States and for a time near Taos, named Kobun Otogawa. He died in 2002 by drowning while trying to save his 5-year-old daughter. Kobun's students remember him sharing his experience of dropping to the floor, weeping in uncontrollable grief, when as a child, he heard the news of his father's death. As he put it, when he rose to his feet, both he and the world seemed irrevocably changed. I think of bowing that way, he said. You go down, and when you come back up again, you're a different person. Just bowing. Beginning. Now. At our last original love retreat, the theme was trust and support. Someone asked, trust in what? And Henry answered, the present moment. If only we can taste and see what this very moment really is. So let's take a look at Mu. First, a reminder. The 13th century Chinese Zen master, Mumon Wu Min, compiled this collection of koans, the gateless gate, the Mumon Kan, adding commentary and a verse to each one, each case. David Hinton translates the title of the collection, No Gate, Gateway, Mumon Kan. The word kan means gate, and it also means barrier. Unmon is famous for using this word in his teaching to wipe everything away. Whatever you think you know, kan. Whomever you think you are, kan. Whatever ground you have to stand on, kan. So it's possible. The title of this collection is what happened to Mumon. In effect, what he realized. Mumon kan. God. Mumon said he used the koans as brickbats to knock at the gate. Years ago, I was at a session in Germany, and at the end, everyone was gathered around for picture taking. And this lovely German man, who's now Dharma brother and friend, he'd been practicing already for decades. He just was laughing and he said, you know, it's said to knock at the door. He made this pallid gesture. He says, but you have to bang, you should be, beating it down. And then he said, after years of doing that, I noticed all along there was a key in the latch. Mu is sometimes called the master key. Momon didn't put the koans together in any particular order. He wrote, they unwillingly formed a collection. Maybe the masters had a hand in that. But based on the power of his own awakening, his experience, Momon put Mu first. And he prefaced it with this verse, this gata. The great way has no gate. There are 1,000 different roads. If you pass through this barrier once, you will walk independently in the universe. No gate. Right here. Right here. Nothing but this. And here's Hinton's rendering of the verse. I should say he translates mu as absence. It's clearly absence with no opposite. So here's his way of translating. The great way is a single absence gate. Here on 1,000 roads of presence. Once through this gateway, you wander all heaven and earth in a single stride. A single stride, a single breath, standing up, sitting down, listening via Zoom. Quite the exploration. Pass through this single gate. No gate, no barrier at all. The gateless gate of Mu. And you'll walk through the whole universe in total freedom. Your practice will be at an end. I just can't not say. Most people who glimpse Mu, however deeply, are compelled to say, now my practice can begin. This happens again and again. The horizon always opening, coming up now. Now my practice can begin. So let's begin. If you think anyone has ever heard this before, koan. I'll read the case. Joshu's dog. A monk asked Joshu in all earnestness, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Joshu said, Mu. So it's impossible to face this case without meeting up with Joshu. This quality of his sitting, I remember a student uh, being asked, why do you practice? Going around, why do you practice? Joshu is still sitting. Joshu is sitting. I cannot but sit. 100 years of zazen during his lifetime, and the tremendous power of his continuous practice. We're sitting in it. We're sitting it. So we know the story, 8th century, this life that spanned 120 years, deep enlightenment at 18, 18 deep experiences, countless others practiced eyebrow to eyebrow with Nansen for 40 years. Then Nansen died. Joshu was about 57 and he mourns. And then 20 years of pilgrimage, visiting masters, checking, clarifying his world. Until at 80, he settled down in a small temple named Kanonji, named for the Bodhisattva of great compassion, also known as Bailin Temple. It was very, very meager. And even though in his old age, Joshu complains so naturally about these just grim, there's no flavoring, there's no tea, there's the robes, it's cold, there's nothing really to wear, to eat. His whole body is creaking, but he wouldn't have it any other way. So he didn't have a huge following of monks, but some. Joshu is well known for being soft spoken. This teaching that came to be called lips and mouth Zen. At a time when others, perhaps very effectively, were shouting power that just speaking softly. When he spoke, a sparkling light came from his lips. Some say a golden light. He's named for the place of his temple. And again, where the Hinton makes this move, visitation land is how he translates Joshu's name. This name, this place. This light. Over the years, the temple's been repeatedly destroyed and rebuilt, destroyed and rebuilt. You visit there and you're struck by this luminous quality throughout, light, energy, actually energy like lightning. There's stories to go with that. This came to mind yesterday when Henry named some of the qualities of samadhi: peaceful, enlivening, energizing, subtle energy, joy, release. The one time I was at Joshu's temple, this wonderful trek, we walked in through the gates and there was a bit of a plaza, and then you enter in through this cypress garden, walking between the trees. Such a sense of wonder at the power, ineffable and yet. So I'm walking along next to this tall German man, and I just looked up at him at one moment, and he had, tears on his cheeks. The air charged with light, very alive. That's Joshu. Dogen thought Joshu, more than any master, had forgotten any trace of enlightenment. A monk asked Joshu in all earnestness, this is always striking to me. It's the beginning and the end of the Mumonkan. Clearly a way of Mumon's of editing these koans. But in 48 cases, this mode of asking shows up 14 times, a litany of the masters, and 4 times in exchanges with Joshu. Earnestness, sometimes translated sincerity. Students ask a lot. In fact, just last week, a student asked, and they ask in various ways, but at what point do earnestness and sincerity cross over into a gaining idea? How do we hold together, this utterly complete, this total sufficiency, this simply resting in things as they are, nothing outside it, nothing to gain, with the urging, the urging toward awakening that does show up, it shows up in us. At what point do earnestness and sincerity cross over into a gaining idea? When we mistake this state of openness, ripeness, of beginner's mind, purity of heart, as a step on the way to attaining something. When we give credence to our aching sense of lack and look at this practice to fix us, make us whole, there really is nothing to gain, nothing to add. So I often cite this passage, a chapter from Dogen's Shobogenzo, where he writes about sincerity. The chapter is translated it, or sometimes thusness. Dogen writes, although the state of sincerity does exist, it is not something that lingers in the vicinity of the personal self. Not just honesty, completely open, unaffected. It's us as we are, without any attempt to disguise ourselves, including setting aside the ways we usually disguise ourselves to ourselves. Thusness or suchness for Dogen is what you are. Vast, boundless, before knowing, and absolutely personal, distinct, without separation, and inseparable from you. It is never separate from anyone, writes Dogen. Thusness is always exactly where you are. And then Dogen adds, once the aspiration to awaken arises, you let go of what you have been playing with. You come forward to hear what you have never heard and realize what is not yet realized. This present moment. He goes on, this is not at all self-doing. Know that it is so because you are a person of thusness. At the same time as you earnestly seek, we earnestly seek. You can't do anything. Such a beautiful opening meditation today. Just to let your body be the lump. Let this open, balanced posture just unfold. Let it happen. Let it be done for you. Get out of the way. And all that's left is the pure heart. As the Kanzeon Sutra intones it, pure, joyful, true self, eternal, original purity. Elaine McGinnis Roshi calls it original spontaneity. And here we are exploring it as original love. Dogen writes, one who aspires to experience thusness is immediately a person of thusness. How could it be otherwise? If so, he writes, why be worried about thusness? Why worry? Just to ask is to be in accord with the matter which is it. Such utter sufficiency. What is that matter? Mu. Mu. A monk asked Joshu in all earnestness, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Joshu said, Mo. He actually said, Woo. During that visit to Bailin Temple, the older abbot who had just passed on the reins, so to speak, the leadership to this wonderful young abbot, Ming Hai. The older abbot gave a Dharma talk for us with translation. And so we didn't understand a word, I didn't. But throughout the talk, woo, 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 whoa. Moo. I will never forget the moment when Ruben Habito, my first teacher, gave mu to me. He recited it, advised to dispense right away with discursive thinking. Let go the monk's question and just sit with mu. What is mu? He asked. Just mu. Ruben did say, mu is the sharpest sword, the sword that cuts through all delusion, the sword that kills and gives life. This sword is now yours. It was an incalculable gift. Maybe because I'd read just enough to appreciate the historical plumb line, or maybe the moment was lit by a sense of the magnitude of the possibility, the aliveness of the exchange. What is mu? Nothing but mu. For about a week, I thought of mu day and night, picking apart the question, despite the caution. Does a monk have Buddha nature or not? Picking at it. Those bones are so clean. What is mu? What is mu? Sometime on day 7, I was sitting in my car at a stoplight on the way home from work. What is mu? What is mu? And I realized I was giving myself a terrible headache. It stopped. The question went silent. Just mu. An instruction I've often heard and offered when giving the gift, the gem, the gate of this koan is to drop any concern with the dog or Buddha nature, or even who am I? What is this life? What is it to be authentically human? Drop the figuring, the calculus, and just become intimate with the sound. Just mu. Let mu pervade. Let mu occupy everything. Let mu do everything. Only mu. Whatever arises, mu has the capacity to handle it. Absolute capacity. Be intimate with mu. One sound, one sounding. Master Jizo met the wandering monk Hogan at the gate. What is pilgrimage? He asked. Jizo asked. I don't know, said Hogan. And then Jizo. Not knowing is most intimate. Really taste this moment, the present moment, we call it. The only moment. And not knowing, you could say before knowing, is innate to it, alive in it. No basis for judgment, nothing to compare. Whatever comes up, that's it. Mu. So when I was working on this at that time in his teaching, or maybe it was with me, I would go in every chance to Doksan, sit down. My practice is Mu. What is Mu? I don't know. And then what's happening? My practice is Mu. What is Mu? I don't know. What is Mu? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that Ruben teaches that way now, but for this student, it was a very helpful sort of wearing away, just seeing what happened to that. I don't know. I don't know. Does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Coming up right now, the monk's question. Is of incomparable beauty. Of course, he's just soaking in the thing he seeks. As are we. Does a dog? If there's one thing I would say about this question, it's that every aspect of it is you, intimately you, originally you. Years ago, for the first time, I heard Ryon Roshi, our abbot of Sanbo Zen, give a teisho. It was the beginning of the week. He took up Joshu's dog. The zendo was large, and Roshi invited us to pull our mats and cushions close. We gathered in. He spoke for almost an hour, evoking this world, conveying Mu, conveying this reality of who you truly are. Luminous, translucent, unbounded, free, freely giving, beyond words, no knowing, nothing at all. And yet, by the time he finished talking, my lap was wet with tears. I didn't even notice, just wet. I can't remember any specific detail of that talk. Even soon after, I couldn't exactly say. But what was conveyed was boundless, timeless. It's right here, right now. Cannot be other. There is no other. So intimate. In another of the recorded exchanges with Joshu, a monk asked, "What is the one word?" Joshu said, If you hold on to one word, it will make an old man or an old woman of you. If you hold on to one word. This life is long gone. Instead, Joshu gives us one word that you cannot hold on to. Mu is so expansive, so exhausted, nowhere to get a grip. There's a passage in Dogen's guidelines for studying the way where he writes, a monk asked Joshu, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Joshu said, Mu. Can you appreciate this Mu? Writes Dogen. Can you contain it? There is no place where you can get hold of its nose. There is entirely nothing to hold on to. Please try releasing your hold. And releasing your hold. Only look. What is body and mind, he asks. What is conduct? What is birth and death? What is Buddha Dharma? What is the Dharma of the world? What in the end, are mountains, rivers, earth, human beings, animals, and houses? Releasing your hold. What is this? Only Mu. Dogen goes on, when you inquire like this, it follows that the two aspects of motion and stillness do not arise at all. Though motion and stillness do not arise, things are not fixed. Suspended, open, nothing fixed. It strikes me as one description of samadhi. Commenting on Mu, Shibayama Roshi tells about Hakuin's first meeting with Master Shoju. Shoju asks, tell me, what is Joshu's Mu? Hakuin responds in elation, pervading the universe, not a spot whatsoever to take hold of. Yeah. So apologies for all these words and for all the elation. Shoju reaches out, takes hold of Hakuin's nose and gives it a twist. I'm quite at ease to take hold of it, he says, laughing freely. Shoju lets go and scolds Hakuin. You dead monk in a cave, are you self-satisfied with such Mu? Cut off the mind road completely, says Momon in his commentary on Mu. Drop all concepts, even the concept of dropping all concepts. This was Kubota Roshi's teaching. Delete, delete, delete. Another approach is to look into what you see until what you don't see falls away. Take or learn the backward step or turn or fall into practice, shining the light in. Spaciousness, allowing this, you could say, is Mu as samadhi practice. Dogen's teacher, Tiantong Rujing, has a teaching about Mu pretty well known. He likens Mu to an iron broom, and this image of sweeping away thoughts, sweeping, with this wonderful caution, the more you sweep, the more numerous they become. And then Rujing says, all of a sudden, the broom breaks into vast emptiness, and you instantly penetrate the myriad differences and thoughts and variations of the universe. The broom breaks into vast emptiness. And the I, me, mine whatever's left dissolves. It can happen that where you're sitting, suddenly there's a vacuum. It can happen in any number of ways. Somehow you disappear. Some say you die. Yeah, life, death. Then one step, one sound, one movement, and mu breaks forth. This is the way of mu for Rujing. Then Dogen comes in and turns around the teaching of his beloved teacher. You cannot penetrate mu. Mu penetrates you. That the self comes forward to realize the myriad things is delusion, says the Ginjo koan. That the 10,000 myriad things come forth to realize the self is awakening. Body and mind, self and other, fall away, drop off, dissolve. And the whole universe comes rushing in. Nothing to do. Let mu penetrate you. Go quickly. Dogen is probably the only master who says in a line what mu is. Mu is a sun with stone melting power. Mu melts mountains. Mu melts the crust around our hearts, the entanglements in our bellies. Mu melts the imagined boundaries, the conjured judgments. When everything melts away, what remains? Melt into mu, melt into the breath, melt into this moment. Only now. We can't make this surrender happen, but we can dispose ourselves to it. We can release the calculus of our life and sit. Let mu sit. Mumon offers a kind of roadmap for mu in his commentary on this case. The power of his experience just coming through. It's worth reading again and again, every time something new strikes. So I just want to share one brief excerpt. This is from David Hinton's translation. But let all the delusions of a lifetime go, all the understanding and insight, and slowly, little by little, nurture the simplicity of occurrence appearing of itself. Soon, inner and outer are a single tissue. A single tissue. Deep samadhi, maybe. For Mumon, about to break open. 6 years of earnest practice, finally committing everything. And one day, standing near the Dharma hall, Mumon hears the sound of the gong signaling lunchtime. Here's 2 lines of his poem. A peal of thunder under the bright blue sky. The multitude of living beings on earth have opened their eyes. This thunderclap, without the slightest warning, without the slightest flash of lightning, just suddenly thunder, not a cloud in the sky. Everything ceased. Everything coming up. Your whole body. Call it empty infinite. Call it absolute capacity. Call it compassion. Call it origin. Call it love. Mumon's verse is an exclamation point. Dog, Buddha nature, the perfect manifestation, the absolute command. A little has or has not, and life is lost. Body is lost. Dog, Buddha nature. The entire koan collapsed into this. Joshu, monk, asking, earnestness, dog, Buddha, mu. The perfect manifestation, the absolute command. This, exactly this. Wherever you turn, that's it. Right where you sit, that's it. The great multitude, the infinite specificity. Nothing but this. A little has or has not, and life is lost, body is lost. What a great relief that it's really not possible to have anything. Our hands are empty. Totally empty. Actually gone. So in total freedom, we can put them together. Say thank you.